Good evening, and thank you for tuning in to WCEG talkradio.com. This is Conversations in Education, and I am your host, Mr. Vincent Cheeks. We're in studio today with an entire family. We have the Priester family with us here today. A group of talented entrepreneurial peoples in the Priester family. So we'll get to them in 1 second. We are WCEG talkradio.com, the worldwide community empowerment group. Please join the conversation. Call into our Skype number 678-619-1402, 678-619-1402. We are your 501c3 nonprofit community radio station. Please consider making a tax-deductible donation to help support our broadcast. You can go to our website or call our office at 404-490-8646. 404-490-8646. I have a couple of brief announcements. First, I'd like to say thank you to Columbia Middle School for giving me the opportunity to host their Digital Families Community event on Saturday. It was an excellent event, giving tips to the community from the police department and from internet specialists on how to keep our children safe from internet predators. So it was a very excellent event headed by Miss Troya Sampson, who has been a guest on WCEG Talk Radio. So I just wanted to commend her and the Columbia Middle School PTA for an excellent job with that Digital Families Community event. Also coming up on May the 4th, Snapfinger Elementary School will be hosting a multi-school talent show. So we're looking to get 10 to 15 to 20 schools with about 10 acts each to participate in the talent show. It's going to be held at Columbia High School on May the 4th from 1 to 5 p.m. If you want more information, you can email me at alchemyartisaninc@gmail.com. That's ALCHEMYARTISANINC, alchemyartisaninc@gmail.com. It's going to be a huge event, and yours truly will be the host. So please come on out and join this fun, family-friendly event. Thank you very much. All right. Now to the meat of our conversation. I'm going to introduce you guys to the Priester family, starting with Daddy Priester. How you doing, Thomas?
I'm doing great.
Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here, sir.
Thanks for having me, Vince.
So Thomas Priester is the CEO and founder of Core Financial?
Yes, correct.
All right. Thank you, sir. And we got Isaiah Priester in the building.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you, sir?
Good, thank you.
That's excellent. Excellent. And what is the name of your company that you have?
I'm currently creating a name right now because my business had a reboot. So right now I'm just remaking it. But I sell T-shirts and apparel. Okay. T-shirts
and apparel. Appreciate you, sir. And last but not least, we have Miss JL Priester. Did I say that right, JL?
Yes, JL.
Miss JL Priester. She's a young entrepreneur herself. And thank you for being here, ma'am.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. And what is the name of your organization, your business?
My business name is Kuponya.
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 Kuponya. I like that. And what does that mean?
Kuponya is actually the Swahili word for healing. So it means healing.
Ooh, don't we all need some of that?
Yes,
ooh, yes, Lord. Okay, we'll get into that a little bit later into the interview, but I want to start with Mr. Thomas Priester first and introduce his business, which is Core Financial. Sir, what exactly is Core Financial?
Yeah, Core Financial is a financial brokerage. We're based here in Atlanta. And what we do is we focus on insurance, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy to help individuals and families, basically get their money right.
Okay, that is excellent. And is there a particular kind of insurance that you specialize in?
Yeah, what we do as far as insurance is we specialize in life. I believe the life insurance can play a big part in setting up the future generations financially. I didn't come from money, but there's no reasons why I can't leave a financial legacy for my kids, and I believe life insurance could play a big part in that.
Okay, so let me talk about this life insurance for a second, because it's important.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah,
it's very important. So, but a lot of people in our community do not have life insurance. Why do you think that is?
Well, actually, the statistics may challenge that a little bit.
Okay. Talk to me.
You know, statistically, they say about 64% of African Americans do have some type of life insurance in place.
I don't know none of them 64.
Yeah. So, you know, our community is pretty broad. So it really depends on, you know, what part of our community you are in. But I think traditionally, you know, Black people had life insurance because obviously, you know, coming out of slavery, there was nothing in place for us to really take care of our loved ones, you know, during the whole, you know, slave period. We buried them where they fell, you know, typically. So, you know, coming out of slavery, we did start to establish, you know, foundations for communities to pull together resources to bury our loved ones. So there was a point in time where, you know, our ancestors, those that came before us, felt it was very important to have a proper burial. And the best way to do that was to collect resources and make sure that that happened. Fast forward, you know, to where we are today.
Okay.
That is no longer really a priority for a lot of people when it comes to how we take care of burial. And life insurance is broad. We're talking about burial. There's different ways to use it, but since we're talking about burial, I kind of stick on that.
Okay.
I mean, you know, when you talk to the younger people, millennials, they don't really want to talk about life insurance because they think that has to do with death.
With death, right.
And they think they're immortal and they're not going to die. You know, when you're 19, you're 20, you're 25, you don't want to think about that. So they don't even want to have that conversation.
Right, yeah.
But unfortunately, you know, in certain parts of our community, we are seeing more and more people pass without it. That's why we're seeing the GoFundMes and the fish fries and, you know, the bank account set up for donations. So I think it's more about education in our community of the importance of it, not just for burial, but for other uses as well, where they can use it to build, you know, wealth, to leave a legacy for their family.
Okay. And typically, how much does it cost on average for a life insurance policy?
Well, it depends.
Okay.
Really. So if you're looking at straight burial, the average cost for burial here in Georgia is anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000.
That's a lot of money.
It is. So, you know, if you're looking at strictly just for burial, then, you know, depending on your age and health and other factors come into play, where you live, you know, you'd speak with an agent, they'll be able to give you a quote and say, you know, for 8 to 10 or whatever you're looking for, this is exactly how much that will cost per month.
Okay.
If you're looking at cremation, I mean, typically you can get that done for, you know, anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000.
Okay.
So that's going to be a less expensive policy, but again, there are factors that come into play when it comes to, you know, how much your policy is going to cost.
Okay. So what, in general, what would be a good age for a person to have life insurance? Like, do we need to wait till we 40 or over, or do we need to be 18, 19 years old, start thinking about life insurance? What is the age to start getting insurance?
Yeah, typically it depends on what you're trying to do with the life insurance. Again, if we're talking strictly burial, if you don't have assets in place to take care of your burial, you need to have a policy in place. Okay. So again, if you say, okay, I want cremation, and you're looking at a $5,000 cremation, if you don't have $5,000 in place, it would benefit you to get a $5,000 policy to cover that burial. Okay. If you're looking for something closer to 10 to 12, then you look at a policy to cover that. But there's also self-insuring. And, you know, part of my financial literacy teaching is financial independence. Okay. Right. So my goal is to teach people how to put the money away. So sometimes they don't need the policy. People think since I sell insurance, I always tell them you need insurance.
Right.
But if I walk into a home and you already have $5,000 or $10,000 put away, then there's no need for me to sell you a policy for burial.
Right.
Now we can have a conversation on how life insurance can benefit you in other ways.
Okay. So the most important part of the life insurance policy is the burial aspect, though.
For most people, yes.
For most people,
yes.
Okay. And I just want to say how important that piece is, because my dad passed in 2010. He had a life insurance policy, but it took a while to kick in and get that money out. So we had to scramble. Yeah. In the meantime, my mom, my sister, my brother, we had to scramble to come up with I think it's about $6,000 or $7,000.
Sure.
That's round about what you said. So we had to scramble to come up with that money in order to bury him. And then I think a few weeks later, the policy kicked in.
Paid in.
And we got that reimbursed.
Right.
But that beginning part when you're trying to figure out where his money come, because you know they have to be in the ground within a certain time.
Yeah, and you got to deal with the funeral home, and you know they're gonna want to know when that payment is coming. So the quicker you can get that policy in hand, that money in hand, the quicker you can pay.
Right. Okay. And so earlier you mentioned something about people starting GoFundMe accounts for having to bury someone. Is that beneficial or non-beneficial to have to go with the GoFundMe route?
I mean, I love the concept where people are pooling resources to help somebody in need. The problem is there's no guarantee. I mean, you can set up a GoFundMe page and nobody gives to it.
You get $10 and you're trying to get $5,000.
That's a problem. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah,
so,
that's the issue.
You know, a lot of times we hear when celebrities back a GoFundMe page, how, you know, it takes off. A lot of people give, but sometimes they're not privy to your cause. Right. You know, they may not know, you know, little Johnny that passed away in Atlanta, so they don't get that backing from that celebrity, so that the page never goes anywhere. So again, I love the concept, but I would not depend on that to, you know, use to put somebody in the ground, because there's no guarantee. Yeah,
you're right. And unless you know a lot of people, not only a lot of people, but a lot of giving people,
right,
then you're gonna be you're gonna be in trouble. So let's work on what you said. 64% have life insurance. So
that's what some of the statistics. Yeah.
Well, I think everybody need to have life insurance, because it's such a financial burden when you don't have it and you have to try to scramble. You know, because my dad died unexpectedly,
right,
and so now it's last minute and nobody else in the family had money. It was literally my mom, my sister, my brother, and me that pretty much put the money into the pot.
And that's what we see a lot of times.
Right.
I mean, when somebody passes, you want to be able to focus on their legacy, the good things. You know, you don't want to be stressing, trying to figure out how we're going to pay for the funeral. That takes away from your grieving process. Right. It takes away from you being able to celebrate that person. So this is just one less thing that you have to worry about, you know, when that day comes. One thing we do know is it's going to come. It's just how prepared, it's just how prepared you are to handle it, and you and the family, when that day does come.
Okay. This is good life insurance information, if you ask me, because I think this is information people need to know and really research and investigate to really see if it is something that you definitely need right now, or if something you can hold off and put off. But there's no time like the present. Is what I like to say.
Especially when it comes to life insurance, because the two factors are age and health. So the younger you are and the healthier you are, the cheaper it is.
Okay.
You know, so it doesn't make sense not to try to get something on a young, healthy person, you know, versus waiting until, you know, I get phone calls from people all the time that are older and, you know, have some health ailments. So it's a lot harder to get them covered. Right. And a lot of times it's a lot more expensive.
Right, because they have pre-existing conditions or whatever. Yeah,
absolutely. So it's a lot more difficult. So if you're young enough and healthy enough, you know, like you say, no better time than the present.
Exactly. Now, you also mentioned financial independence earlier. Can you explain a little bit about what financial independence is? I mean, I know what it sounds like, but I want to hear from the professional what that is.
I mean, you know, we just need to be in a position where we as individuals in a community can provide for ourselves.
Yes.
You know, statistics say 75% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
Yes.
You know, that's far from financial independence. And we saw that here recently with the government shutdown. You know, by week 3, a lot of people were hurting.
They were hurting.
You know what I'm saying?
Loans,
so we wanna get our community, our families in a place that regardless of what happens with your job or, you know, with government, you're still in a position to be able to take care of yourself, your family, and your community.
Right.
And in order to do that, we need collaborative efforts. You know, we need to prioritize our finances, you know, things like that we haven't really been successful in doing, you know, here for a while. Okay. You know, we hear about Black Wall Street and things like that where, you know, we did have that collaborative effort, but we haven't seen that on the scale since then. And we need to get back to that.
Right. So, okay. you bringing up a lot of good points. Let's talk about Black Wall Street, and then I'm come up to y'all, get y'all opinion on financial independence. Black Wall Street, we know what that was. It was a lucrative community of black folks. Was that the 40s or the 30s?
There were several. I mean, we always talk about the one in Tulsa, but we had some in the Carolinas. You know, that was just the biggest one.
Right.
But yeah, it was a collaborative community effort where we had everything we needed to be financially independent and self-sustaining. We had hospitals, we had doctors, we had restaurants, we had farmers. Everything we needed was right there in our community.
Okay. I'm going to touch on that again in a second, but I want to bring the young people in here. JL, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
You just heard your father talking about financial independence.
Yes.
What does that mean to you as a young person and as a teenager, financial independence?
For me, I think financial independence is having something set aside for yourself. Like he touched on earlier, if we have another government shutdown or if you can't work,
right,
then you have your own money set aside for those issues and you're not scrambling to take out loans and asking people for money. So I definitely think that financial independence is just having something set up for the worst case scenario.
Definitely. So how old are you?
17.
17. Have you started any type of savings account for your future at all?
Yes, I have many accounts.
Well, excuse me. Professional account holder.
Of course, I have a personal account for myself. Okay. I also have a business account. And then on top of that, I do have a savings account. So anytime I do business, if I sell one bracelet or 100 bracelets, I always take a certain percentage out for myself. And then the rest is divvied up between going back into business and then into savings.
Ooh, where you learn that from? Your dad?
Yes.
I know it. I know. You sound like
I learned it all from him.
That is awesome. Good. That was a good answer.
Thank you.
Isaiah, what about you? What does the term financial independence mean for you?
For me, I would say financial independence is you... Pretty much what she touched on is saving up money, having money saved up for the worst case scenarios because you never know really what's going to happen.
Right.
You know, my personal experiences for personal finances is deciding whether I'm going to go out and eat with my friends or if I'm going to save up money so I can have Ubers to take to work next week if I'm not able to go in.
Right.
You know, I feel like it's something that a lot of people don't really understand, especially black people too as well, because, you know, like my dad was saying, you know, most of us is living paycheck to paycheck because, say you get $1,000 on a paycheck, 600 go to bills, the other 400 is going to food, children, and then the new J's that just dropped. So it's like financial independence would have to be, you know, you just save it up money for the worst case scenarios, you know.
Okay, so. You just heard your dad and I mention Black Wall Street, right? Y'all know what Black Wall Street is?
Yes.
Okay, so for those of you who out there who are listening who may not know what Black Wall Street is, it was community in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was a thriving community of business people, bankers, doctors, lawyers, own movie theater, own everything. It was our own community, and it was thriving successfully. And what happened? A white woman accused a black man of raping her or trying to rape her, and the next thing you know, all heck broke loose and the city got burnt to the ground. So, and a lot of people died in that situation. So my question is, and I'm gonna start with you, Thomas, and go around the table.
Sure.
My question is, do you think we will ever be able to get back to that place of having a Black Wall Street or multiple Black Wall Streets in this country? In this country is key.
Yeah, and that is the key. To the scale, the size and magnitude of Tulsa, maybe not.
Okay.
But I believe the spirit of Black Wall Street is something we're seeing more and more throughout our community.
Okay.
We may not have a physical locale, but I think more people are trying to get that collaborative spirit that Black Wall Street represents to so many of us. You know, more people are looking to, you know, connect with others in our community to build.
Right.
But unfortunately, in this country, we you know, the government has a way of making things difficult.
You think?
So, I mean, it may not be, you know, we may not be dealing with lynchings. We may not be dealing with mobs, but there are policies that could be put in place that could make creating a new Black Wall Street very difficult.
Right.
A physical locale.
Right.
But the spirit, I believe, you know, more people are connecting to these days.
Okay. JL, what about you? You think we can get that Black Wall Street going again?
I hate how he takes all the good answers and leaves me with the scraps.
Well, that's age and experience.
That's what it'll do. But like he said before, I don't think we'll ever get there in a brick and mortar type of way.
Okay.
But it is the 21st century and we do have the internet now.
Yes.
So I think that's how we can kind of build our own Wall Street again. And I have high hopes for it, but also I kind of feel like we're going to make a comeback. I feel like,
I agree.
Like I said, with the internet, somebody could be in California with a Black owned business and somebody could be in Atlanta with a Black owned business,
right.
But we can still connect. And we can still build each other up. So I definitely think an online Black Wall Street is in the books. But I don't think anything big brick and mortar will happen. But small communities around still exist.
Right. Yeah.
But other than that, I think the internet is gonna make us big.
Okay. Look at that. That was an excellent answer. He didn't even mention anything about the internet. You had your own great answer.
That's young people stuff.
Right. That's the technology young stuff. All right, Isaiah, what about you? Do you think we can get that old Black Wall Street feeling back again?
I feel like that's a real good question, but it's also complicated. I feel like my dad,
it's complicated.
Yeah, my dad really touched on it when he said that the government and stuff, you know, so many things are set against us, so it is kind of hard to get one collective community together,
right?
And for, you know, us not to run into any kind of obstacles to where it's like, okay, we got to give up, because that's a lot of what happens nowadays. It's like we run into all these obstacles. It's like, okay, so what's the point now?
Right.
But I mean, I feel like the whole thing with different groups and the internet, she brought that up. I didn't even think of that, but
yeah,
you know,
that was good.
That's a real good point. It's I feel like collectively, these little groups everywhere around the whole entire country, I feel like that's really what's going to be our Black Wall Street again.
Okay.
You know, a lot of Black African American people are starting up their own businesses and stuff like that. You see that nowadays.
Yes.
So I mean, you know, just a whole group collective thing, just many groups everywhere across the whole country.
Right.
I feel like that's our Black Wall Street right there.
Okay. Good answer. Here's my thoughts on the whole Black Wall Street thing. I think we can get it back, and I think we can get it back brick and mortar. I think it's going to be contingent on two things. One, what you mentioned the first time, that collaboration. We have to learn how to collaborate with each other and stop being so cutthroat and feeling like there's not enough here when God did not put us down here lacking anything. There's enough resources here for everyone to live comfortably, you know, if there wasn't so much greed. But it has to be that collaborative effort and working together. And you know, I'm trying to do something like that now with the nonprofit that I have. Like, so many people have nonprofits, but like I might be over here doing mine, you might be over there doing yours, you might be over there doing yours, and you might be behind us doing yours separately, which you can get stuff done. But if we all come together, pull those four corners together, how much more work could we get done as a collective and as a whole?
Absolutely, yeah.
So my concern about the collaborative effort is this Willie Lynch syndrome that seems to be prevalent in our community, which, if you don't know what Willie Lynch is, it's the theory or concept that they did back in slavery, where you take any little difference, whether it was ageism, a young slave and an old slave, light-skinned slave, a dark-skinned slave, whatever it is, you find little idiosyncrasies to make people basically not trust each other or dislike each other. And they started doing that to us during slavery, and it was so embedded and ingrained into us that it's still going on to this day.
Right.
So we have to grow out of that, and it's happening. It's definitely happening. I bring people on this show all the time that are doing stuff for the community and working with other people in the community to make the community better. But it has to be that collaborative effort. And people like you two, the young people who are out here starting businesses as teenagers, that gives me a lot of hope for the future. Because let me tell you something, when I was y'all age,
Right.
if it wasn't girls or football, I was not trying to hear it. Okay. And so I'm very proud of what you guys have done, because I think I know I was 30 before I even thought of having my own business. You know what I mean? Because we weren't taught that coming up. I know I wasn't taught that coming up, and it wasn't in the schools. So to see you guys, and I've purchased one of your shirts before, Isaiah, last year, and you talked to me at the pitch competition a while back about what you have going on, and so that just gives me a lot of hope. Like, the young people are really doing way more now than we were at their age, and that says a lot. So keep up the great work. Try to encourage some of your friends, bring them into the fold. Because it's definitely needed. So kudos to you two. Thank you. Both. But yeah, let's bring back Black Wall Street. I'm with it. You're listening to WCEG talkradio.com, the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group. I am your empowerment host, Mr. Vincent Cheeks. We're in studio with the Priester family having a hashtag casual conversation about financial literacy, youth empowerment, youth entrepreneurship, life insurance, all this good stuff that's needed to build a sound, solid life, right? So I appreciate all of you in the work that you're doing. So Thomas, let me ask you this. Why is it important for you to educate the urban community on the benefits of insurance, financial literacy, and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, my thought is we have to level the financial playing field.
Yes.
I read an article put out by Bloomberg recently. They did a study, and they said Atlanta right here has the worst income equality in the country. The income disparity between the wealthy in Atlanta and the non-wealthy is just discouraging. Wow. So we have to teach people about insurance so they learn to use it to grow wealth and position themselves to leave a financial legacy, for their family. We have to teach people about financial literacy so they understand how money works, so they can stop spending it on depreciating assets and learn how to save and invest.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, and third, we have to teach entrepreneurship so that we control our income and not fall apart like we touched on earlier when the government shuts down or your job starts to lay people off or you can't find a job.
Right.
We throw around these unemployment numbers and, depending on if you're a Democrat or Republican, that spews what the numbers are. That dictates what numbers are put out.
Okay.
But the truth is, there are a lot of people still not working. Or there are people that are working in jobs that are not paying them enough to take care of their family. So just having a job, these days is not always the answer.
Right.
A lot of people have an income problem. They have a job, but they just can't pay, their bills. Again, going back to people living, paycheck to paycheck. So for me, again, education is very important to, talking to our community about the importance of insurance, entrepreneurship, business ownership, and financial literacy.
Okay. At what age should a person start learning financial literacy?
For me, as early as they can understand it. I'm still... Kids need to have piggy banks with coins in them, so they can understand and appreciate money.
Right. Okay.
When they have to start spending their own money and understand that mom and dad, ain't made of money, then that changes their mindset. Because now, like Isaiah was saying, when you get money, he's working now, he has a job.
Right.
When you get money, it makes you think on how I'm going to spend this. Because when I'm covering it, it's like whatever.
Sky's the limit.
Exactly. But when it's your own money, now you think a little bit more about how you're going to spend it. So, as early as they can, if they're a little older and they're into technology and apps, get them hooked up with apps like Acorn and Robinhood that teaches them about savings and investing. So, to me, as early as they can understand it, start teaching them about it.
Okay. Do y'all have an answer for that question, JL? How early do you think a person should start learning financial literacy?
I completely agree with Papa there. as early as you can, because once you hit a certain age, you just jump into life. Like if you wait till 20 and you start having kids and you want to get married super early and you just jump into life, then you're not financially stable in most cases. So if you learn at 10, 11, and you start in elementary school, then you learn that I'm going to start saving now so that when I decide I do want to jump into life, then I'll be financially stable and ready for it.
Okay. What about you, Isaiah?
I would say the same thing. For me, I wish I did learn as young as I possibly could, because I realized, you know, when you don't have money for such a certain amount of time, like a long period of time, it's like you think in your head that I'm gonna be good with money. I'm not gonna need it because I've lived this long without it. So I'm gonna be good being able to save up the money. But once you get that money, it's like, but you know, I have been wanting to get them.
Burning the hole in your pocket. That's the old folks say.
Exactly. You tapping on your pockets like, oh man, what am I gonna do with this money? Because I finally got it now. But I feel like, you know, if I were to learn that as young as possible, how important it is to save up money and not to just splurge whenever you get a paycheck. I feel like I would be in a way better position right now, you know, have a lot saved up because I was more smart with my money because I learned it at such a young age. Right. Mm-hmm.
So to piggyback your point, would you say that what did you just say? My question totally just left me. We'll come back to that. I can do that on my show. But I'm loving the conversation. You guys are providing some excellent information. Oh, my question was, so you would say that self-discipline would be a key component of being an entrepreneur and learning how to control your spending habits.
Yes. Absolutely.
So for my young entrepreneurs, and I'll start with you, Isaiah, was it hard for you to learn that self-control and self-discipline?
Yes, it still is hard.
It's hard for grown-ups too, I promise you.
Because what people don't understand is, in order to keep that business running, you have to keep putting money back in the business.
Oh yeah.
So you have to put back what you spent. You got to put back what you spent.
Penny over there testifying like, yes, Lord.
Exactly. So you have to put back the money that you put into it, and then, you know, a little bit more, so you're able to make more profit next time. So profit's not going to come in the business until you never know. It could be 5 years, it could be 10 years, it could be 1 year, depending on how well your business does. Right. But you know what people don't understand is you have to put that original investment back into your business. Otherwise, it's just gonna go down, and people aren't going to see your business is doing as well as it probably should be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. That was good. But you sound like a young professional over there, sir.
Getting a little comfortable.
I like that. I like it. Thomas.
Yes.
So what is the issue with so many urban communities not being able to speak the language of money or have financial, a high IQ of financial literacy?
Yeah, simply we were never taught in most of our communities.
Yes, sir.
Most of us grew up with negative feelings towards money. You know, I know I did, and I saw how the lack of it stressed my mother out.
Oh, yeah.
So most of the money conversations we had were negative ones.
Money don't grow on trees.
That's the one. You know, we ain't got it, so don't ask for it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So most of us grew up with negative, you know, conversations surrounding money. I was never taught that it was a tool that if used properly can help you build.
Yes. Correct.
You know, again, most of my conversations were negative. Now, when I got a little older, I knew I wanted to have it and I knew I needed it.
Right.
But then you get into the whole, well, how do I get it?
Right. Yeah.
So if you don't have opportunity, positive opportunity or right opportunity like they have, you know, with businesses. Right. Unfortunately, we get street creative, which leads to
street creatives. Oh yeah.
So you know, again, I think most of us just were never really taught. That's why we don't have the conversation. We're having conversations about a lot of things, but typically, it's not money.
It's not money. Yeah.
It may be about spending money,
right?
You know, because we're going out. We're consumers. We buy everything.
We are the biggest consumers.
Yeah. So you know that as far as you know, I'm concerned, I think it's just lack of education, lack of conversation.
Okay. So it's not being taught in the schools, like you just said. Do you think it should be a part of the school curriculum for these youth to learn financial literacy and learn the basic building blocks of being an entrepreneur?
Absolutely. I think it does. And I'm starting to see more and more states actually implement financial literacy into the curriculum.
Okay.
But, you know, I'm going to take it a step further. You know, it needs to be taught in the home as well. You know, yes, it's beneficial if it's taught in the schools, but it needs to be taught at home as well. You know, Malcolm X said, only a fool will let his enemy or oppressor educate his children.
Ooh, Lord.
And I think too often we give too much power to the schools to properly educate, you know, our children. We look back on some of the things that's happened to us as a people in this country. And when you think about it, why would you trust them to put your kids in the best possible situation to succeed?
Exactly.
So I think, and you look at schools right now, you know, we had the public school scandal a few years ago.
I knew that all too well.
You know, our kids were pulled out years ago and homeschooled. Isaiah went back for his senior year, but prior to that, they were homeschooled. And I think, you know, us as parents getting more involved is important, because when they are in school, a lot of times they're taught to the test. They have these standardized tests that they have to pass. And the schools are judged based on how that's why they were cheating in Atlanta.
That's why they were cheating.
Everything was based on the performance in those tests.
The test scores,
you know, you already look at how crammed the curriculum is. I mean, can we really add a financial literacy piece that will fit in and flow with everything else going on? If they may add it, but how effective is it going to be?
Well, we won't know unless they add it. I mean, because the financial literacy piece is key to being a successful, productive member of this society. Like, we've been blocked from the economic system in this country for so long, which that was my number 2, along with the collaboration of us, is having the government stop blocking us from the financial institutions in the economic system, which they've been doing since we was released from slavery.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely think the school needs to play more of a role. Now, to your point, you're right. It should start at home with the parents, just like with discipline and other stuff.
Right.
But how can it start at home with the parents if the parents didn't get it when they were coming up? You know what I mean? So it's like this endless cycle where if someone doesn't decide to break it, it's going to keep going and going and going.
Right. Right. And I agree. And again, we're having two conversations. I mean, you have to look at your school district. I mean, you have to look at how is it going to be implemented? Is it going to be effective? So, I mean, it's one of those things where you have to tackle from multiple angles. Will it help to have it in the schools? Absolutely.
Okay.
But is that the end all? No. I mean, we teach reading in school, and how many kids graduate and can barely read?
Ooh.
So, I mean, you know.
Boy, that was a valid point just then. Woo.
So, I mean, it's just really looking at, you know, how effective. You know, sometimes we just throw things in the pot and say, well, it's in the pot. But, you know, it's still got to be effective. And that's my whole concern is, will it be effective in our communities?
I definitely think it would be effective because there's such a lack of having this information. Like I started with the Operation Hope financial literacy program, teaching it to elementary students this past year. I was trying to teach it with the tutoring school that we started. Shout out to Lit for Learning. And you know, we didn't focus on the financial literacy that much because they were more concerned about the test and the reading and the math. But when I think 3 times I had a chance to introduce it to them, they were grasping onto it.
Right.
Because, you know, when I started, the first thing I did was tell them to draw a picture of $100 bill on their paper. Now I said, under your $100 bill, write what you would buy with the $100 bill. Mm-hmm. At first, they was like a house, an iPhone, a hoverboard, all this crap. I said, you have $100, you know, so they have no concept of how much the money was, and they just, you know. But by the third time I did it with them, you know, they remembered from our previous lessons, and they were starting to grasp onto it. But then they were like, okay, we need to get back to the reading and in the the other stuff. So I think, and I was started with third grade, third, fourth, and fifth grade. So I believe that it is doable if the children are given the opportunity. That's the issue. One of the main issues with our community is that we haven't been given a whole lot of opportunity.
Absolutely.
So instead of calling children, what's the key, urban or whatever tag words that they like to use these days, I call our children opportunity challenged. Because they haven't had the opportunity that a lot of other communities get, especially when it comes to financial literacy and learning about how the economics of this society works. And I think that is a huge issue. I think the school should definitely the school is part of the state. So the state should be wanting its citizens to come out in a much more better position for them to help with the economy and help pushing us in the right direction. No, and then you have a more knowledgeable base of people to choose from for your workforce.
Right.
So it just makes sense to me. But for whatever reason, the schools aren't doing that just yet. Or well, you said some schools are.
So some schools are doing pilots.
Okay.
You know, in some of the other states, I haven't seen anything here in Georgia.
Okay. Well,
but,
Georgia's the slowest of slow of all the states. Let me just say that. JL, what about you? Do you think financial literacy and the youth entrepreneurial program that you've gone through, do you think that stuff should be taught in the regular public school system?
Absolutely.
Why so?
I really think that's important because sometimes kids, including myself, didn't really know that entrepreneurship was really possible for them until that was inserted. If it wasn't for my dad and him bringing home those books, and I was like, what's that? So unless you have it in front of you, people aren't really going to go out of their way to search for it. You have to put, especially with kids nowadays, if it's not right in front of their face, it probably is not in their vision whatsoever. Right. So I definitely think that it should be implemented starting in elementary school to middle school and keep progressing all the way to high school. Yeah. Throw it in some colleges if you like. Just put it everywhere.
I would like to see by the time you get to college, you proficient in the financial and you can language of financial literacy. Yeah.
Right. So I definitely think it's really important to have that implemented in schools.
Excellent. What about you, Isaiah?
I definitely do. I thought it was crazy how they would prefer to teach me about Pythagorean theorem and triangles and geometry and all that when I wasn't even going to use that rather than something that I'm actually going to use in life. Right. Like I thought it was also crazy how they only taught you a small part of financial literacy inside economics as a whole as a class in your senior year, and then on top of that it wasn't your whole entire year, it was only a semester, so I thought that was crazy. I'm thinking, you know, I would rather have this because I would have been way better off when I graduated high school,
way more ahead, ahead of the game,
because I would have learned how to spend my money more wisely and use my money and put in different investments and things like that. Like JL was saying, like if I had, my dad hadn't taught me nothing about financial literacy, I wouldn't even know what you'd be talking about. What's financial literacy? I'm like, I don't know. You tell me. So I mean, I just think it's real crazy how we don't teach anything like that inside school, especially starting at a young age, because that's the best way. Because kids are definitely kids don't really know much about cheating when you're in elementary school. You know?
You're right.
They're forced to have to learn. Yeah. So I would think that that'd be the best place to start teaching that. You know, because as you grow older, like you said, it'd be, you know, something that'd be good to use in school like that. So yeah.
Okay.
I think it definitely should be put inside school.
The day that happens, I'll be very, very happy. And, you know, once I start getting some major money from WCEG, you know, I might just start going to lobbying at the Capitol, you know what I mean, for educational financial literacy and things of that nature, because it's definitely needed. And I don't feel like there's enough people lobbying for these things to be in our schools and stuff like that. So I can definitely see myself doing that in the future. So if y'all want to help me out with that, you know what I mean? Jail's like, I'll be there. I got you. I appreciate. I love the energy. All right. So to everyone, starting with Thomas, is it hard to be an entrepreneur?
Okay.
I mean, it depends on, I think, your makeup. You know, I think a lot of people...
The makeup of the person.
The person,
okay.
yes. I think a lot of people... It's scary for a lot of people at the beginning because for older people like myself, when I started my first business, I was transitioning from, you know, a career where every week I had a paycheck to now, if I don't go out and sell something, there's no money.
Right.
You know, in my industry, you know, it's a little graphic, but we say if you don't kill, you don't eat.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
basically, you got to go out and you got to sell something.
That sounds like a quote for like the food chain.
Yeah.
If you don't kill, you don't eat. Yeah.
Right. So, I would say if you have a plan, not so much. I mean, you know, if that's the reason that before you jump in, you have to sit down. You have to, you know, if you can't do it yourself, get a mentor.
Right.
Come up with a business plan to make sure, you know, you have an actual business.
Right. Something that's valuable.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
You know, exactly. And that's what we see a lot of times when we work with the kids in the school. It's like, that's not going to work.
Right.
You know, you don't want to break it to them, but you want to break it to them before they go full in.
You putting too much into it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think if you really sit down, you strategize, you come up with a good plan. It's not as hard as I think people think. I think most people are afraid because of the money aspect of it. But if you put in the work, it gets a lot easier.
Okay. So you got to put on the overalls in the boots and go get your hands dirty and work done.
Every day.
Okay. JL, what about you? Is it hard being an entrepreneur?
You know, I actually jumped into entrepreneurship with really high hopes, and then
doesn't every entrepreneur?
I learned the hard way that entrepreneurship is not as easy as it seemed.
Right.
I went into my first event with like 100 bracelets. Okay. I was ready to sell them all, and I sold 3.
Oh,
so I learned the hard way that it's not as easy as it looks. Is it hard? I don't want to say it's hard. It's challenging.
Definitely challenging.
It's not hard. Like my dad said, if you know what you're doing, if you know what you want, if you have a plan, also if you have support, that's definitely a big piece.
Support is key.
Like he said, a lot of people focus on the money aspects, especially when starting, because obviously you're putting money in, but you don't know if you're going to get money back out of it.
Right.
And personally, for me, I actually did run out to a store and I bought all these random beads and random things that I ended up not even using. So you should definitely want your plan to be set in place before you even go and buy the product.
Right.
But is it hard if you, like I said, if you know what you want and you are passionate for it, just don't be like, oh, everyone's wearing Jordans, I'm gonna go start selling Jordans. You definitely want to know what you're doing and have a passion for it. But is it hard? No, it's difficult, but obviously people can do it because they do it every day.
Right. It's doable. It's definitely doable. So let me ask you this. When that first event, you took the 100 bracelets and you sold 3, how did that make you feel?
I want to say I was disappointed. I kind of felt a little discouraged as well. That's definitely a big part. I was like, do people not like my bracelets? did I do something wrong? I know, like, should I change the prices? Should I change this? Should I change that?
Yeah.
But as I went on to more events and I started expanding to more lines and getting to know like what I'm doing, once I learned really what these beads meant, then I said, no, I know what I'm doing. If you either go and buy one or you're not.
Right, yeah.
And I definitely have to educate people on the bracelets as well, because sometimes I have people walk up to my table like, oh, those are pretty. And then they just walk away because they think they're just for looks. But my bracelets are definitely more than looks. And I think that's another reason why I kind of felt discouraged, because they didn't understand and I didn't understand why they didn't understand.
Okay. So how did you overcome those feelings of disappointment and things of that nature?
Well, one, I always get pep talks from my dad on the way home. Every time we do anything, I always get a pep talk. He tells me how amazing I did, what we can fix next time. And we have our car ride pep talks, as I'm going to call it. So those are definitely helpful, which goes back to the support. Because if you don't have support and you don't do as well as you think you're going to do, then you're just leaving all of the emotions on yourself, and you don't have someone to tell you, oh, no, you did great.
Yeah.
You just need to learn still. But I honestly forgot the question.
How did you overcome the disappointment and all that?
I just kept working towards it. But actually, I'm not going to lie. I did take a hiatus. After those few events, I was like, I'm not selling anything. Like, what's the point in this? I'm not getting any money. No one wants to buy anything. And I did take a long break. And then I was like, you know, I want it back. I miss it. And I just kept working hard and I wasn't focusing on the money. That's kind of where I picked up. Yeah. I was not focusing on the money. I was focusing on what I do, what I love to do, educating people on my bracelets. And that's kind of when everyone started to get into gemstones and beads. So just keep working hard and do it for you. You don't want to do it for the money. That's kind of how I got over that speed bump, is doing it for me.
Now, that was probably some of the best advice you could have gave, is to not do it for the money and do it for your passion, because your passion will lead you to the money.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I love that. Oh, you got some smart children, Thomas. You got some smart children. Thank you very much, JL.
Thank you.
Isaiah, what about you? Is it hard for you to be an entrepreneur?
I would say that it is challenging, but it does take a lot of dedication, and you really have to be determined to do it. You have to have a passion for what you're doing. Otherwise, it's gonna be like, okay, I don't even want to do this in the first place. It's like going to work almost. Yeah. It's like a chore. Yep. So if you have a passion for what you're doing, then of course, like everybody always says, you know, if you love the work that you're doing, it's not really work.
It's not work. Yep.
So, you know, I feel like it is challenging, something that everybody can do and accomplish, but you just got to understand that nothing comes easy in this world. So you do have to put some work behind it. You do have to get up. Even the days you don't feel like getting up, when you go to work like I did at 6 a.m. and you turn around and come to stuff like this, you gotta take the time and do stuff like
sacrifice.
You have to make sacrifices and figure out what you're gonna do with your time. Am I gonna go work on my business today, or I'm gonna go chill with my friends, play my video game? You know, it's what's gonna be better for you in the future, what's gonna be more beneficial.
Now, you mentioned something. You said self-determination. That's key when it comes to being an entrepreneur, because you're pretty much your own boss. You work your own hours. So if you don't feel like going in, you don't go in. If you do, then you do. But you have to be conscious of the consequences and repercussion of you possibly not going in. Like, if you know you got bills coming up and I ain't going to work today, well, you might be a little short on them bills. But that self-determination is self-motivation, I think, is very important, because I've been doing entertainment for about 13 years now, and I can say in those 13 years I probably quit 4 or 5 times. But it was like you said, Jed, you got to dust yourself off, you know, pick that confidence back up or build it back up, and erase yourself out, which is not easy. It's not out, especially when you sit down with a plan and you come A, B, C, D, E, F, G is going to get me to wealth. And you like, yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I got this event I'm going to, man. I'm going to sell all 100 of all this. And you get there and you walk out selling 3. And all that build up, all that confidence, all that everything is just.
You just went straight to Z.
You know what I mean? And so it's very, if you don't have that mental fortitude that a lot of people talk about, that self-determination, that dust yourself off and get over itness, you're not going to make it very far as an entrepreneur. And what they say, most businesses, it takes at least 3 years before you get out of that possible profiting, and it being viable and stuff like that. And so you really got to have that patience, and patience is key. People want to try to, we live in a microwave society. Everybody wants it right now, right here, right now. I'm not waiting for nothing. Pay me. And I can tell you that's very prevalent in the entertainment industry. And I can tell you right now, I've been as successful as I've been in the entertainment industry because I haven't put money first, and I've done a lot of free shows. I've pretty much done, I know at least the first 10 years I was in the industry, I did a lot of free shows, which was free promoting and advertising for me, but I didn't have money. So I had to find other ways to make my services available and known. And so that's what I did. And so when I go to schools and I talk to students, because a lot of our students feel like sports and or entertainment is going to be their way out of poverty or whatever. So I go speak at a career day. Shout out to Champion Middle School. I'm coming Thursday. I go and I ask them, how many of y'all know what y'all want to be? And I go around the room and ask them. I would say probably 60 to 80% of them want to be athletes or entertainers or something like that.
Now we have YouTube
right,
vloggers,
YouTube vloggers. They call
models.
them social influencers with the social media. So that's the new big thing, being a social influencer. So I go in and I tell my story. Tell them I've been doing it 13 years. I'm just getting to a point where things are starting to come together. The first 10 years I was in entertainment, I didn't make any money. I work for free. Now they looking at me crazy. What? You work for free for 10 years? What? I would never. They got to pay me for what I do. I'm good at what I do. They gonna pay. So I'm like, okay. So then, they say what they want to be. And I'm like, do you think it's going to be easy going into that arena? Oh, yeah, I'm good. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm this. I'm going to be the next Nike spokesperson. Okay, well, entertainers and athletes, they have a 2%, less than 2% chance, 1.8% chance of making it in that industry. So if you got 100 people, 2 of y'all gonna make it. So what do you think you need to do in order to be successful if you don't have this particular talent to fall back on? And so then we go into a real life discussion about real life things, and real life struggles, and then because all they want to know is, you've been doing entertainment 13 years. Why are you not famous? You've been doing entertainment 13 years. How much money you make? Or how much money are you worth? And I'm like, y'all focus on the wrong thing. Right. And then I talked to him about my 5 P's for success, which is passion, patience, positivity, persistence, and perspiration. I throw them off with perspiration. That's a little sweat. That means hard. I mean, you're working hard with the perspiration. But when I say perspiration, they like, what is perspiration? What are you talking about? So we have that little thing. And so it's a teachable moment too. Right. You know what I mean? And so that's why I really enjoy going to speak to these children. And the main thing I tell them, and you touched on it earlier, is when things don't work out the way we want it to or the way we plan, we get street creative. I tell them I've never been street creative, which has made it harder for me to get to where I'm going because I haven't had the money that most, in the music industry, a lot of them get started from street creativity. But I talked to them about not going that route, and I talked to them about not doing anything immoral to get to where you're going. Yeah. And so, these children need to hear these real life conversations and not have everybody just fluff things up for them like it's going to be all gravy and all easy, because they already thinking that it is. Right. And the schools aren't teaching our children to have that mental fortitude. Right. If you're not teaching your children at home to have mental fortitude, then they're going to fold at their first sign of failure. I guess last week was talking about how to not let our children become a victim of their failures. Because you fail at something one time, you go, oh Lord, it's the worst thing in the world. I don't want to do it no more. I'm throwing all this away. You know what I mean? And so we have to have that growth mindset that we can come out of that and, make everything better. So I am thoroughly enjoying this conversation I'm having with the three of you. You're listening to WCEG TalkRadio.com, the worldwide community empowerment group. I'm in studio with the Priester family having a hashtag casual conversation. Do you have any questions and or comments? You can call 678-619-1402, 678-619-1402. So Thomas, we're talking about financial literacy, entrepreneurship, money, and all of that stuff. Let's talk about wealth. Right. How does a person accumulate wealth? And what is the difference between being rich and being wealthy?
Yeah, I always go back to that Chris Rock bit. Okay. Where he said Shaq is rich, but the guy that signs his checks is wealthy.
Absolutely.
So, wealth is multi-generational. Okay. I could be rich and when I die, it's done. Right. Wealth, when you look at people that have amassed wealth in most situations, that's carrying from generation to generation to generation. Right. So my wealth is not just going to end with the riches I amass and die with. So, typically we talk to people, if you have an income, I mean, it's some small steps that, we recommend people start. Okay. Right out the gate. Save. Invest, insure, and give. And the reason we say save is we always encourage people to have an emergency fund. And, not to keep beating up the shutdown and all that, but we saw a lot of people didn't have anything in reserve. So, we always recommend you have at least 3 to 6 months You know, set aside an emergency fund to take care of, you know, all of your expenses. And you
3
know,
to 6 months worth of pay saved up
to pay, for all your expenses. So if all your expenses for the month are $2,500, you need to have that times 3 or 6.
Ooh.
City, yeah.
Ooh, Lord,
that's it. Because you have to look at it. Look at your situation. Is we saw by week 3 in the shutdown, people were running out of money.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have that 3 to 6 months built up, you have some time to fix your problem. See, the problem is when you live paycheck to paycheck, nothing can go wrong. Everything has to flow perfectly. If the car breaks down, you got a problem. If the kid gets sick and you got to miss a couple of days of work, you got a problem. So that paycheck to paycheck mentality, everything's got to go perfectly. That's why so many people are stressed. But if you got 3 to 6 months saved up, that gives you some time. Now, I say 3 to 6 depending on your career path. I mean, if you got a job that's easy to obtain, you can go out, people are hiring for it, you good with 3 months. If you got something that's a little more hard to get into the industry, then, you know, you might need that 6 months. But we always tell people you need to have something set aside for those emergencies. So that's always the first step. Is you got to save. Then as a community, we have to learn to invest. Again, that paycheck to paycheck mentality is broken because we have the old, you know, work for pay, hour for pay. So you got 40 hours in a week typically to work. I mean, most people do that. So outside of that, unless you on the clock, you're not getting paid. But if you start investing, you learn to invest, you start getting some return, then that's an additional stream of income. That's additional income. So we always tell people learn and start investing, even if it's small. You know, like I say, get one of those small apps like Acorns or Robinhood, you know, something. And also that changes your mindset because now you're out of consumer. Now you're an owner of something. So your mindset begins to change because I'm not just buying, I own stuff now. So once that mindset begins to change and rise up, then your actions begin to change. So, you know, save, which is to invest, insure. Because again, you want to leave a legacy for your kids. Again, you may not have come from money, but if you do the proper planning and use insurance the proper way, your kids are going to have money when you're gone. And there's ways to make it for them while you're still here. And the last thing is this universal law, universal principle, you give. You know, we have to give. We're not making money to hoard. You know, we have to
you need to tell the 1% that.
Well, yeah, that's a little different. So, you know, I believe that, you know, as you give, you get back. You know, and
I believe
talking
that
about
also.
entrepreneurship, there's a new movement called social entrepreneurship. Where it's not just about your bottom line, it's also having community impact. And I was reading about the Toms, the shoe company, the owner of that company. I can't remember where, but he traveled somewhere overseas to, you know, a community, had a lot of kids in the community, and he noticed that they didn't have shoes. You know, none of the kids had shoes. They were just running around and feet messed up, no shoes. He's like, you know, I want to do something about this. So he came back to the States. He started the shoe company, Toms. And as a social entrepreneur, for every pair of shoes you buy, they donate a pair. So, you know, you're seeing more and more companies take that approach. It's not just about the bottom line. But I'm also having an impact, you know, somewhere in my community or a place you choose. And then it's helping their sales because people aren't just buying shoes for the sake of buying shoes because the shoe market is very competitive.
Yes, it is.
But if I buy Toms, it strokes my ego knowing I'm doing something for somebody else as well. So it forms a double, you know, a double role there. So, you know, giving, I believe, is very important, especially as you start to accumulate.
I definitely believe in the giving aspect. And if you give, you shall get back a return. I definitely believe that. I want to talk to you. Go back to this 3 to 6 months of saved up income. So give you a scenario. So I was a college student. And this is partly my story. I went to college. My mom told me not to get involved with credit cards, this, that, and the other. I didn't listen. So I go to college. You know, they prey on freshmen. And they give you all these free cards. And I'm like, you gonna give me the money now and I can pay you later? Are you serious? Went through all that, racked up, I don't know, $20,000 in credit card fees. So now my credit messed up. So I graduate college, get me a job that I think is paying pretty decent. But for the most part, I'm living check to check. How, as someone fresh out of school, $20,000-$30,000 in credit.
Yeah.
Living check to check. How do they save up this 3 to 6 months that you mentioned without, I don't know, going crazy? It sounds a little difficult to me.
Yeah,
is it just a little piece at a time, or big chunks here and there?
It's pieces. It's a process.
Okay.
Right. So a lot of times people tell me, I don't have any money. If I'm talking to them about insurance or, investing, they say I don't have the money. So what I usually do is say, show me your budget.
Okay.
Right. So we go and look at their budget and we break down things that they can cut back on.
Right.
Okay. So when you cut back, instead of saying, "Oh, I just found another $50 a month," no, you put that into the savings towards your emergency fund.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things now. I mean, I fight with people. Well, I don't fight. We have conversations a lot of times.
Deep debate.
People paying $200 a month for cable.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you got things out there like Sling TV and YouTube
Roku,
TV. I mean, $30 a month. So right there,
we ain't giving y'all no free advertising.
No. But I mean, right there, you're talking about, if you're spending 150 and you break it down back to 30, that's $120 right there.
Yeah.
And then, phone service, the phone companies get you. You get the new phone, you get the package, you locked in for 3 years. Yeah. You're paying $60 a month. Cricket, $30 a month. Again, no free advertising. But I'm saying, so
we'll Rickets.
So when we go through the budget, we look at, where you can cut back. And then you take that and you start putting that to the emergency fund. Because once you build the emergency fund, now we have some extra room. All that money we save, now we start investing.
Okay.
So there's a process. No, most people don't have the money right out the gate to put. But I mean, it's income tax time. What are people doing with their taxes?
So being consumers.
Exactly. you see it all the time. Around this time, you driving down the road, you're going to see a lot of temp tags, with buckets, because people go out and they buy cars that, the tax money pays for, breaks down a year. You're doing that, repeating that cycle. So we got to get smart. Again, a lot of people say they can't do it, but it's just a matter of sitting down, coming up with a plan, and sticking to it. So when we look at that budget, a lot of times we can find money they didn't think they had.
Right.
And now are you going to take that money and become a consumer again, or are you going to take that money and say, you know what, I'm ready to start building.
Right.
So it is a process. No, and most people don't have it, right out the gate, but you got to work towards it.
You got to work towards it. It's a slow build.
It is.
A slow build.
It is. Most people didn't get in that situation overnight. I didn't have the credit card problem, but I was in the military.
Okay.
So I was in the Marine Corps, and when you're in the military, like the freshmen, we had allotments.
Okay.
So all the businesses in town, they knew we got paid on the 1st and the 15th.
Yeah.
So they like come and pick out whatever you want, and they gave you an allotment. Okay. Which, they took the money out of your paycheck on the 1st and the 15th. So again, I was living in the barracks for a while, so I had free meals, free housing. I'm not thinking about money.
Right. Yeah.
But I ended up getting out early.
Okay.
And guess what happened when I got out early? Those allotments didn't stop.
Okay.
So now here I am, a civilian without those 2 paychecks coming in a month, trying to find a job.
Right.
Now I got a family.
Yeah.
It put me in financial distress.
Right.
Because again, I wasn't being smart. I'm thinking as a consumer in the moment.
Right.
Oh, I want that TV. I want that radio. I bought a car, terrible car. Hoopty, didn't last me. They got me. They saw me, coming on that one.
Yeah.
But I had to undo all that. And that took a lot of time. So I didn't have it out the gate. It took time to get to that space where I could have the savings set aside, so I could start investing, so I could start giving. Okay. It takes a while.
Okay. Now I've also heard when you're trying to build and accumulate wealth that it's good to have multiple streams of income.
Average millionaire has 7.
Average millionaire has 7 7 streams of income.
Yes.
I think I got about 5. I have 5 potential streams of income. I just need one of them to start making money so I can start feeding the other one and build his wealth.
Yeah.
I call myself the broke Steve Harvey, y'all. I got the radio, the TV, the acting, the nonprofit. I got everything he got. I just ain't got the money. We're working on it. Me and Penny, we working on it, right, Penny?
It's coming.
So, yeah. So, all right. JL.
Yes.
Do you have any tips for success?
Tips for success. That was an unexpected one. I thought you guys asked me about streams of income. Tips for success. I think if I'm gonna go worst case scenario, because obviously I feel I feel privileged when it comes to money and financial, because I have my parents who are very big in entrepreneurship and finances. So worst case scenario, let's just say you're 18, your parents aren't really around much, you know, they do them, you do you. You have a 9-to-5, pays decent money. My mom always calls 9-to-5s kind of like pit stops. Or feeding tubes. So if you have a 9-to-5, but you know you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to do something yourself, it's kind of going back to the savings and putting away. You keep feeding little by little into a savings account, any type of account, and then you use that to start your own business. So you can still, I don't think being successful, you can't have a job. I feel like you can be successful while having a job, as long as you're feeding what you want. So if you have to have a job in order to stay stay supported and financially stable, then have a job. But like I said, don't just go out and start selling stuff because you see this is a new trend. That's kind of a big thing now. If you go to mini malls, you see those little kiosks in the middle that's selling the hottest things. It used to be fidget spinners. Now it's Fortnite hoodies. So don't go with the trends, but kind of go with, will be that will still be running in 10 years. Don't go out and sell fidget spinners because they're going to be dead in a year. So being successful is definitely, like I keep going back to, it's just doing something that you love. Supporting other people that also do what you do. I think that keys into being successful while supporting, because I know there could be 100 companies, quote unquote, like yours, but if you support them, that doesn't mean that you're going to go out of business. So you definitely want to support and do you
support. That support is key.
That's kind of all it is.
That support is key. What about you, Isaiah? You got some tips for success?
For me, I would say one tip would be everybody struggles. So I would say embrace your struggle.
Embrace the struggle.
Embrace your struggle.
Yeah, that's good one.
Because people, they struggle a lot. Like I struggled, and I would always beat myself up. I would always be like, oh man, I can't do this. Why am I doing this?
What was I thinking?
Exactly.
I've been there.
So it's like you have to embrace those moments, because it'll teach you to be humble in the future as well.
That's also teaching that mental fortitude.
Exactly. Building your mental strength and everything like that. I would say prepare, also plan. That's really important, is to plan for your future. Because for me, I kind of scattered things out a lot. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and I still do that to this day. I'm like, I'm gonna be this. Just thinking about this, being on the radio show, I'm like, I'm gonna have my own radio show. But
that's growth mindset, though. That's good.
That's true. And I add things on to what I want to do, but then I don't really plan out, okay, how am I gonna get here? How am I gonna get to plan A, plan B? So I would say plan, of course. That's really important. Another thing I would say is just, she said, do you? I would say that's also really important, because authenticity is really important.
Authenticity, yes, sir.
If you're sitting here doing, the latest trends, and people gonna see that, they're gonna see that it's not real. People will feel that. Exactly. They won't intellectualize it, they'll feel it, because it's like, okay, that guy, he's just doing it because everybody else is doing it. But when they see that you're doing it because it's what you really feel, what you really enjoy, what you really like to do, they're gonna feel that, and they're gonna draw more towards that. And they're just gonna do that because it's natural, and I would say those really would be my top 3 important things: is to do yourself, be authentic, plan, and then embrace those low moments, embrace the struggle as well.
Ooh, and don't stop.
Don't stop. Won't stop. Can't stop. But that embracing the low moments, I think that's key, because I told you during my entertainment stint, I've quit 4 or 5 times. And each time I quit, it was a low moment, and it was something. It was very low moment. You have to be super low in order to tell yourself, like, I put so much time or so much planning and so much X into this, and then you just, okay, I'm quitting. You have to be having a low moment. But there was always something that pulled me back to my passion. Because when I would be sitting there, I haven't worked a corporate or a regular job since 2010. I've been an independent contractor. And so when I even have the thought now of going to work for somebody else, oh no, it turns my it hurts. I'm like, oh no, I can't, because I don't like people telling me what to do.
Right.
So just having that thought, and I'm like, okay, you need to pull yourself up by your so-called bootstrap, dust yourself off, and get back to work. But again, everyone doesn't have that mental fortitude, like I said earlier. And if you don't have that and don't know how to get that, trying to be an entrepreneur is not going to work for you, because you're going to have so many of those low moments trying to do this, that it's you know, you got to have that strong foundation, and support would help. You know, for a long time I didn't have support, but starting young, teenage, like y'all starting, that's the best time to get support. Because businesses, they love to help the youth, especially when they see them doing something positive, like have their own business and or help the community. You know what I mean? So,
and can I add another point too?
Yes, sir. Please,
I would also say get involved as well, because one thing was, in like communities as well, because one thing I did when I started getting involved, when I was helping my dad out, I saw the bigger picture. I saw it was way bigger than me, and then that was also my motivation. Right. So, you know, when you had that motivation to be able to do something that you see or help a cause that you see is way bigger than you, then that's gonna be your fuel to your fire. Because I love thinking, okay, one day I could be able to reach out and do this. It's just me right now, but I could reach out, do 10 kids, and then those 10 kids could do 10 kids, and that's 100 people right there. So it's get involved, I would say, is another tip for success as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've heard from the youngsters. Let's hear from the professional dad. What do you got, any tips for success for us?
Yeah, now I'm last, so they took all the answers.
They took all the good stuff.
No, but I think they both made, you know, really good points, and two of them I think are connected. JL said, you know, do you, and Isaiah said, embrace the struggle. Yeah, and I think in this social media age, a lot of people get lost in what's real and what's not, because we post the best versions of ourselves on social media. So you see somebody standing up there, you know, flashing a stack of hundreds, you know, like, oh, I made it. You know, little do you know how they really got that money. So, you know, you're trying to compare yourself constantly to the best versions, or not the true version of them, but what they're portraying on social media, and you got to get caught up. And like I say, Isaiah said, you beat yourself up, you know, over it, you know, a lot of times. So, you know, typically what I tell young people is find out what you're good at and passionate about, and do it to the best of your ability. And eventually you'll find a way to monetize it.
Yes, sir. That's what I tell them the same thing.
Because I mean, if you're doing it for the money, then most people aren't going to want to take the lumps. You know, is it really
right
worth
about
it?
That,
You know, it's like, nah, forget it. I'll find another way to make my money. But if you're passionate about it, if you're good at it, you know, you're in it for the long haul. Because like JL said, it's you. Yeah. You know, you don't have to come up with some fake reason to do it. It's just you. It comes natural. You're good at it. We all have gifts and talents. And I think sometimes we overlook that, because again, we're trying to compete and be like everybody else. Yeah. And it's a copycat society. So everybody's doing the same thing. But you know, the trueness comes out when you just stick to who you are and what you're passionate about. And then the money will come. I mean, you know, the monetizing eventually will catch up to you. So, you know, just forget all the other stuff and stay focused on what you're good at, what you're passionate about.
Okay. Sounds good. JL, what was the name of your company again?
It's named Kuponya.
Kuponya. Yes. And that is Swahili
for healing.
For healing.
Yes.
So how long have you been in business?
I started my company when I was 14. So I've been in business almost 4 years.
Almost 4 years. And how did you come up with the concept for your business? How did you decide what you wanted to do?
This kind of goes back to what I said earlier about kids not knowing they wanted to be entrepreneurs until it's thrown in their face. Yeah. I don't know why I remember this, but I remember when I was like 10, 11 years old, I really wanted a dog. Okay. And I just remember like my parents saying, no, we're not going to buy a dog, you know. Has to do with money. Like, we're not going to pay for a dog if you're not going to take care of it. Right. So I was like, you know, I'll make my own money. I'll get my own dog. So there. Yeah. So I remember I was like writing down stuff and how I could make money, and bracelets just came in the picture. And this was 3 years before I even knew that I wanted to start a company. And may I add, these bracelets had nothing to do with what I do now. They were like plastic beads. I'm gonna go to markets and I'm gonna sell my bracelets.
Okay.
So that's kind of where the bracelets came in because I've always been very creative. But when it came to Couponia, I actually started getting into gemstones for myself.
Okay.
I'm actually a type 1 diabetic.
Oh,
so,
wow, really?
yeah, I am.
Wow.
So, my mom, she's always been into holistic healing. She loves gemstones. She's a massage therapist. So, I've always seen her with gemstones. I'm like, what are these? Like, why are these little rocks around the house?
Right.
What are these rocks? So, once she actually introduced me to them, I did my own research and then I started wearing them myself.
Okay.
And then I would have people be like, oh, that's a really nice bracelet. Where'd you get it from? Be like, oh, it's mine. So, that's kind of where I saw that, hey, somebody like this. If I sell them one,
right,
then I get money.
Right.
So that's kind of where I built Couponia off of it. But when it came to like making it a legit business and not something like plastic beads, JL's, bracelets,
right,
it was definitely from my parents. I really have to give it to them. Because like I said, they taught me that it's bigger than the money. I kind of feel like they're the ones who showed me it's bigger than the money, and then I learned for myself that it's bigger than the money.
Okay.
So when it came to naming Couponia, I really wanted something powerful. I wanted something meaningful, and I wanted something bigger than bracelets.
Yeah.
What a lot of people see right now is Couponia is just bracelets, but Couponia is not going to just be bracelets in a few years. I'm actually going to college for interior designing, which has to do with feng shui.
Well, do it then.
I'm also starting, I'm not going to spill all the tea, but let's just say there's a lot of things in work that all go under healing. So Couponia won't just be bracelets soon. So that's kind of where I got it from, you know?
Okay. Well, shout out to Mom for sparking that inspiration.
Thanks for the random rocks around the house.
Thanks for the random rocks, Mom.
Yeah, can I add something real quick?
Yes, sir.
I mean, to piggyback off that, I do, really want to give a special shout out to their moms because I'm up front a lot of times, you know, doing this, but I mean, she's really been, the backbone supporting.
She's Mama Drew.
Yeah,
Mama Drew. Okay.
So, I mean, she's not in the room tonight, but we definitely want to give her a special shout out and thanks for all she does for the family.
Love you, Mom.
I was about to say, I love you, Mama.
That's so we love moments like this at WCEG Talk Radio. So that was excellent. Where can people find your product?
You can find you can look me up on Facebook, Couponia. If you don't know how to spell Couponia, that is Kupoya.
You forgot the N.
Did I forget the N?
Yo,
I forgot. Kuponya. My bad. Couponia.
Kuponya.
Yes.
Couponia.
Couponia.
Okay.
So you can find me on Facebook. You can see my posts. You can also get to my website from my Facebook. But if not, you could just go to square.com/Couponia.
Square.com/Couponia.
Yes.
Couponia. All right. Thank you very much, ma'am. And I wish you the best of luck with your healing stones business.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. We all need some healing.
We also have balance, focus, anything you need.
Okay. Well, go and promote then. All right, Isaiah, how did you get started with t-shirt and apparel business?
One of those long car rides with my father, like my sister was saying earlier. It was after my freshman year, which was that was a year. They know that.
Yeah.
And my dad, he was trying to teach me, tell me little things, get me started in my life. Cause, I was in 10th grade at the time. So he was like, it's time to, start get things moving. So, t-shirt was one of the things that we had talked about. And at first we had so many different ideas for t-shirts. It started off with just things about music, and it started off with, New York based music. And then now it's going in a completely other direction, with what I got going on.
Okay.
But, it was really just my father starting out teaching me about, the right things, which is being a business owner, being your own boss, instead of having to work for somebody else.
Yes. There's no better feeling than that. And I would just say, even with the struggles that I've been through over the past 13 years, there's no greater feeling and peace of mind than being able to say that I'm my own boss.
Yeah. Right.
I promise you, that is the greatest feeling ever. And it'll be even better once the big dollar start rolling in. We don't do it for the dollars, but we need them dollars. Yeah. And so, I'm patiently waiting for that breakthrough. But you said Isaiah. You said your website and stuff is under construction because
I'm
of the reboot.
Working on everything right now.
And so I also understand that you do music also, right?
Yes, I do.
So please tell the people your stage name because I absolutely love it.
My stage name was Yeshua.
Okay.
It was a nickname my mom and my family kind of were giving me when I was growing up, and still they call me that now. They call me Yeshi. They call me Yeshua and stuff like that. And
then I like it.
And I looked at the actual meaning. And I figured out why they were actually calling me that because I thought it was just a cute little nickname.
Oh no, that's powerful.
Yeah, but it has some meaning behind
it. Oh yeah, that's powerful.
And exactly. And so I was like, well, my messages that I want to spread through my music is powerful. Why not?
Be powerful.
Exactly.
Be powerful.
So Yeshua is my stage name.
Okay, and you had a song that you wrote about Dr. King, right? What was the name of it?
It was called Young Martin. It was my view of the Black community nowadays.
Okay,
and the struggles we go through.
I heard the song. Yes. I love the song. Yes. So I definitely think you got a future, Mr. Yeshua. So keep up the good work, and then you and I are going to do some work with that also. Mm-hmm. So I definitely keep in the loop with some shows coming up. Okay. So we'll definitely talk about that. So. Man, I'm very proud of the both of you, like the work y'all are doing, how intelligent and well spoken you are. I can say that because I'm Black. But you guys did a great job here with the interviews. You're doing a great work with your business. I love the fact that you're young entrepreneurs and you had great advice to give the people that are listening. So keep up the great work.
Thank you so
much. Thomas, we got about 5 more minutes before we have to go. I want to talk about the Black Insurance Group because I just learned about this today. So can you tell the listeners what exactly the Black Insurance Group is?
Yeah, the Black Insurance Group is something I started about 6 months ago. I've been in the insurance industry for over 15 years now.
Okay.
And, I do a lot of speaking, a lot of seminars, a lot of stuff in the community. And I found that there's not a lot of us represented in the hierarchy of the financial services industry, especially when it comes to insurance.
Okay.
I think about 95% of the higher ups in this industry are middle-aged white men. So, and I worked for a lot of the bigger corporate companies. I'm not going to drop names here.
Okay.
But, I saw that there was a disconnect between what they were doing in our community.
There usually is.
Yeah. So, and then there's also a lot of redundancy on the lower levels when it comes to the agents in the field. So I would go do a seminar and, I did some at the Aquatic Center, the MLK Aquatic Center in Atlanta.
Okay.
And I would go, talk to the person that booked the room and everything. And I look on the books and there's like 3 other agents coming in later in the week doing the same thing I'm doing. Yeah. So like you talked about before, that redundancy. So I'm like, you know what? Let's collaborate.
Yeah.
So I had to, jump over the hurdle of, why you trying to work with me? You trying to get my clients? You know what I'm saying? All that. Then once they saw that wasn't.
That cutthroat mentality.
Yeah. Once they saw that wasn't it, I said, look, we can collaborate. We have different perspectives. You have a different client base. Let's work together and we can effectively reach more people. So that's what it is. We launched an educational platform. It focuses on insurance products and services and how to market to our community, how to better serve our community.
Okay.
We have agents here in Atlanta. I have some in the Carolinas. I got Florida. Got a young lady over in California. Got one here in Ohio. She's actually here in Atlanta. That's how you guys got this flyer.
Okay.
She's here doing some work for us. She flew in from Ohio to Atlanta, is doing some stuff, was giving out the flyers. So it's an educational platform. We answer everything that people want to know about insurance. Okay. Do I need it? How much do I need? How do I get it? How do I connect with agents? It's a free service.
Okay.
We're putting together a vetted list of agents. So if you need to talk to an agent, we can tell you who's credible and who's doing the work in the community.
Okay.
And it's just growing. I mean, it's something that, again, I started about 6 months ago, but I mean, it's growing quick.
Okay. And where can people go to find information about the Black Insurance Group?
Yeah. So they go to the BIG at corefi.com. That's KOREFI.com. They can email us there. They can find us on Facebook at the Black Insurance Group, or they can give our office a call at 404-996-4279.
Okay, give that number one more time.
404-996-4279.
Okay, that is the Black Insurance Group. You can follow them on Facebook. And what is this? The website?
The BIG at corefi.com.
Is that the email or the website?
Yeah, that's the email.
And the email is the BIG at KOREFI.com.
Yep.
Alrighty. Thank you all very much. You have a very intelligent family.
Oh, thank you.
You did a good job, sir. I can't stress that enough. I'm thoroughly impressed.
Thanks,
you guys. You guys are doing an awesome job, awesome work. I'm very proud of y'all. Keep up the great work. And you, Isaiah and JL, y'all came through Operation Hope, right?
Yes,
you both came through Operation Hope. The listeners have heard me talk about Operation Hope before. I wanted to touch on it a little bit more today, but we didn't get a chance to. But I was more focused on the businesses that y'all have going on and wanted to hear y'all perspectives on everything. But Operation Hope is a organization that teaches youth entrepreneurship and financial literacy to youth starting in youngest elementary school. And Thomas and I both work with the program. You did the mentoring also, helping one of the students start a business.
Yes.
So Thomas and I have both done the mentoring and helping students start their business, helping them to get a $500 grant to start their business. Shout out to my mentee, Jaden Joyner. I believe Jaden's a friend of y'all's, right? We started when he was in 7th grade.
Wow.
And I was the first time mentee and he was the first time in the program. And we were both nervous because he was nervous about starting a business and I was nervous about possibly failing and getting him his $500 to start the business. So I was like, we're not going to let that happen, sir. You and I are going to make this work together. And we went in and he's been going 3 years strong now.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be more proud of that dude. So yeah. Shout out to all the youth, man. Y'all doing a great job, man. Y'all doing
#youth entrepreneurs.
#youth entrepreneur and Operation Hope. They're doing a great work. Mr. John Hope Bryant. I know his goal is to build millions of entrepreneurs and millionaires. And they're having. Are you going to the business symposium this year?
The Global Forum.
Yeah, the Global Forum.
Yeah, they sell there every year.
Okay.
JL spoke last year.
Oh, you spoke.
Yeah.
At the,
we didn't talk about that.
But we ain't gonna get into that because it's time for us to go. But I just want to let everybody listening know that Operation Hope is a great organization to help youth understand financial literacy and to get into youth entrepreneurship. So look them up on the interwebs. Alrighty, that's going to conclude our show. You're listening to WCEG. Oh, wait a minute. Scholars of the Week. I can't leave without doing my Scholars of the Week. So my first Scholar of the Week goes to Miss Alana George. Alana George was tested by educational psychologist Dr. Peter Congdon, and she has scored 140 on her IQ test.
Wow.
So typical IQ test is between 90 and 110. She scored 140. She's 4.
Oh,
She's 4. Okay. So I had to share this young lady because, you know, us as a community, we get knocked for being unintelligent, if you will. And so things like this just goes to show and prove that if given the opportunity, like I mentioned before, we can excel at anything. So Miss Alana, before she entered the classroom, she started forming complete sentences at 18 months old, taught herself how to read, and was working her passion for numbers and letters. She went on to read full paragraphs from her favorite books by the age of 3. Now at 4, Alana has become the UK's second youngest member of Mensa, which is the world's largest and oldest high IQ society. So yeah, she is reading on a 7-year-old level and spelling on a 7-year-old level, and the school that she goes to had to adjust the curriculum so she won't get bored. So shout out to Miss Alana George for being a Scholar of the Week. And my next scholar or Scholars of the Week go to the young people sitting in front of me, Miss JL and Isaiah Priester. I'm just thoroughly impressed with what you guys are doing with your businesses. I'm very impressed with the interview you guys came in here and gave. And like I said a minute ago, just keep up the great work and keep building yourself, keep growing, and keep uplifting your community.
Thank you so much.
Excellent job to the both of you. Thank you very
so
much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Priester.
thank you.
Good job with these two.
Appreciate
Keep up
it.
the good work in the community. Apparently you're being an excellent role model. And Mama Priester, shout out to you out there in the hallway too. She is in the building. She's just not in the room. And thank you to all of you who are listening. If you have any Scholar of the Week nominations, you can send it in to WCEG Talk Radio at gmail.com or Alchemy Artisan Inc. at gmail.com. All we need is the name of the student, the school they go to, and the great act that they did, from getting good grades, stopping another student from being bullying, or starting their own business. Whatever it may be, we want to take the opportunity to highlight our children in a positive light. So again, thank you for listening. Thank you to my producers, Miss Penny. I ain't gonna say the other one name because he get kind of funny about that. But thank everyone. Thank you for listening. We should be back next Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel. Again, thank you. We're out. Peace.
Peace.